theme song for the Gear Podcast. Welcome. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Uncle Leon.
Cheers, Troy. Good to be here, mate. Thank you to everybody again for tuning in and supporting the podcast. How you been, mate?
Oh, you know how I've been. I'm sick as a dog, sick as a cat.
So you got the Kalgoorlie curse, did you, mate?
I sure did, mate. I was away playing some music over the weekend, and it was fun. It's always fun, but I got the dreaded lurgy. So it's not COVID, according to the 6 tests I've done. I think I'm just, we'll see. We'll see what it is. But more importantly, Uncle Leon, happy birthday to you. Hey. Happy birthday to you. How's that, mate? 35 years young.
Yeah, what can I say? Another year, another year of lessons learned and wisdom gained and not implemented in my life.
Lessons taught.
Having a good time. Ate heaps of curry on my birthday and ate some cake, and it was almost perfect, mate. Just needed you there.
Oh,
what can you do when you crook?
That's right, mate. It was probably best I stayed away. I was very much on the fence of like, wait, do I have COVID right now or do I not have COVID? So again, I
mean, you did the responsible thing, whether you do or not. If you're feeling a bit sick,
I think it's yeah, for the most part, man. Like up until 2020, if I was sick and I had to do some work, I'd just do the work. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of power through it. But yeah, I'm sort of more. Maybe it's an age thing. I'm just happy to sit at home and get myself feeling a bit better before I go and get everybody else sick. It's weird that never was a concern until now, but it's sort of like I got when I found out that one of the guys I was traveling with on the weekend, he got COVID. So shout out Jay, because I think he might be listening to this. Made sure I went and tested and I wore a mask for the rest of the day. But Jay, I hope you're feeling better, man. And
yeah, no matter what, it sucks. It's been about a year since I had it, and that was just I know some people who are like, oh, it was fuck all, bro. But I'd rather not get it. You know, that's kind of the position I'm in. It's like, I'd much, whether it's that or the flu or,
it's all going around, man.
A sore knee or anything like that, you're much better off without it.
Yeah, mate. I've really worried when I get a sore knee about giving that to my friends and family.
Yep.
They call it the nick-nat.
They call it the nick-nat. Oh, grim.
I don't mean that. I was going to say
talk about the West Coast Eagles and their performance.
I was going to say, mate, because that could almost be a birthday surprise for you. They're playing Collingwood this week, so
wouldn't that be sweet? Dommy Sheed's 150th, come back to haunt the Pies.
I wonder if they'll just put him in the forward line, just get him into that boundary,
just get him dobbing big ones from the boundary.
I was listening to, I think it was like the Eagles podcast, actually. I was listening to it yesterday, and I didn't really realize this, but yeah, that is rated the best game of all time, that 2018 grand final, and the best moment of the best game.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a great grand final, man. Like I remember everyone being like, gee, this is a good game, but a lot of people were like, yeah, they're just like, yeah, that's like the one.
So if you're not sure about this, you can just go look at the AFL Grand Final, the 2018 AFL Grand Final, and just go watch the highlights, or go watch the moment, the last like 5 minutes or so, 2 minutes of the game. It'll be online, and it is probably the greatest thing to happen in Australian sports.
Unless you're a Collingwood fan, in which case it's still the greatest moment to ever happen in Australian sport. So,
yeah.
Mate,
and your opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to all the Collingwood fans listening as well. We still love you. They're actually a very likable team this year.
Oh, it sucks too, doesn't it? I've spent my whole life hating Collingwood, but yeah, I kind of don't hate him this year.
Bit of Darcy Moore. He seems like a pretty good guy. He's like one of those guys. Sometimes you listen to a band and you're like, I don't like this band, but then you watch an interview with like the guitar player and you're like, man, this guy is sick. Why is he in that band? Yeah,
I actually like Josh Dacos a lot as well.
Yeah,
like Nick Dacos is pretty good, but yeah, I think Josh is pretty underrated.
Neo, that's Nick Dacos. Imagine just Neo from the Matrix.
Yeah, imagine being the older brother and just forgotten about in the greater, just the greater Australian public, because your younger brother is so good.
Who's older, Eddie Van Halen or Alex Van Halen?
I'm pretty sure Eddie's the older brother. Hang on, should I look it up? Hang on, I'm going to look this up right now.
We are a podcast which is committed to facts, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to fact check this one, and then we're going to move along. Oh, something totally unrelated, but my mate Jimmy, who may be listening to the podcast, got me some of these Dunlop Flow picks.
Oh yeah,
they're pretty good. You know, I don't really care about.
Oh, I think
trying new picks, but I was like, look, someone got me a gift. I'm going to try out some picks, and they're pretty good. If anyone's using the Flows, let us know in the comments section below. Unless you're listening on Spotify, there's not a comment section. Write to us on Instagram. How is the fact checking going right there, Troy?
Oh, I take it back. Alex is the older brother by 2 years. I knew they were 2 years apart.
There you go. You know,
excuse me.
Just like
it was Alex's 70th birthday a matter of like 3 weeks ago.
That's awesome. So yeah, you know, everyone forgets. I don't think drummers forget how great Alex Van Halen is, but guitar players certainly do. Because why would they care about drummers? But you know, they were a bit of a package deal. Those two, like the way they played together was very important. And Alex Van Halen is one of my favorite drummers to watch because you know he's got the head bob thing going on, and he's just like. It's sort of like one of those things you see Eddie like always smiling, and then it's just Alex at the back just working hard. You know, he's making sure the guys up the front are having a good time. So Alex Van Halen, second favorite Van Halen brother, just like you, mate. Indonesia's second favorite guitar player.
That's
after Eddie.
Yeah, I think he's a quarter Indo. The Van Halen boys, a quarter?
Mate.
No, half. Oh no, a quarter. I can't remember. It's but they've got some Indo in them, but they're Javanese, I believe.
Right, and so the old Java Sumatra rivalry there, mate.
Oh well, yeah, I guess so.
If anyone is listening from Indonesia, our great neighbor to the north, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. And there's a lot of great musicians in Indonesia. It is one of those. It's one of those places, Troy. Yep. People have in their soul.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell this little story I've told a bunch of people in the past, but you know, firstly, I used to go to Bali a lot when I was a kid. I hadn't been there in years and years, and went up in like 2016 and 2017.
Your dad is Sumatran, but he was working in Bali for a long time? Yeah,
I worked in Bali, and then he and my mum met him up there, and then they moved over here, and I was born here. But anyway, I hadn't been to Indo for years, hadn't been to Bali for a long time, and went up end of 2016 and the start of 2017, and I would like to go back. Even though you've said you've been Bali, mate, you'd have a fat time. You'd have a great time in Bali. But both times I went up, I was trying to find some other buttock musicians just because, and that's what my dad was. And both times I managed to find them, they looked like me in the sense of long hair. They wore more spandex than I did and tight pants, but maybe about the same level of tight pants. But it was like the most rock and roll people I'd seen, you know, anywhere in this side of like 1980 Sunset Strip, you know what I mean? And I remember when I was staying in 2017, I went for a walk one night, and I was like, I just want to maybe find some music or something and have a drink. And I was like walking down the street, and I was like, oh, there's some acoustic duos over there, and you know, I'll just keep walking. And then I sort of hear in the distance, like, man, is that Don't Stop Believing? That sounds pretty good. And I keep walking up, and yeah, there's a band in there. I said, headbands, long hair, tight pants, and I was like, oh, this is cool.
You were at the age of 18 when I met you, basically.
Yeah, and the guy was singing like Steve Perry. He had it nailed. It was awesome. So I went in and, you know, watched the band and everything, and they were really good. And they were playing basically just like 80s rock stuff. And you know, said, oh, you know, if you got any requests, yell them out. I said, play some Extreme. I'm like, oh, that's a bit hard. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Anyway, they were wicked. They kicked ass. And I had a chat to the singer after the gig. And yeah, he was like, oh, you know, we're just here for a little while. We come from Sumatra. And I said, oh, no way. Are you buttock? Because I said that's what my dad was. And he goes, yeah. And I said, oh, me too. And he looked at me like I was crazy because he's like a 6'1" white man. I said, no, my dad, I'm a Nababan. You know, that's my surname. And he goes, you're a Nababan? I'm Sihombing. We're cousins. I was like, oh. So I don't know how true that was, but yeah, he was a cool guy. I think I've still got him on Facebook, actually. Igor was his name. And Yeah, it was funny, man. But I said all the buttocks. Maybe it's just it was in my blood to only like 80s rock and 80s metal.
There you go, mate. Musical determinism at its core.
Yeah, but just I want to go on.
Just like for me, being my mum's side of the family being Irish Catholics and my dad's side of the family being Yugoslavs. It's like you just got to listen to the saddest music of all time. Yep. Anything tragic that's what you want, mate. That's what you got to do.
Can we
genealogical detour? I think you had something you wanted to chat about.
Well, actually, yeah. Let's we'll do two things. Firstly, our episode about V30s came out. And
awesome episode.
That was
one of the best.
Really fun. The other, not that one, but the other John Brown is who we had on. And he was a great guest, so shout out to him if he's listening to this. Yeah, it was cool. Like I went and immediately watched his video. By immediately, I mean a day later, I watched his video about V30s, and it was very enlightening. I think his tests were fantastic. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with it. I don't really have too much more to say, to be honest. I just really enjoyed the conversation. What did you think afterwards?
Yeah, I actually went back and rewatched the video and I listened to all the clips again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, surprise, Troy. Really liked the ones that most people seem to like, the smoother sounding like early 2000s and the original one. And it was cool. It was really, really cool to do that. And he should probably sell those IRs and, make some money for his time, because there's a lot of good work put in there. I saw he put up another video yesterday as well with the exotic V30s he was talking about.
Yeah, I started to watch it, but I ran out of time, unfortunately, last night. But yeah, that looks. I mean, he was talking to us about that last week, so it'd be cool to go and check all that out. I'm very happy to have that good era of V30. I feel pretty stoked to have that. But I actually just spent all weekend playing in Kalgoorlie with the orange V30 cab.
Yep.
And let me tell you something, man. That thing sounds pretty good.
That's cool.
I think it might be more of a case of I'm back on V30s a little bit.
He's back, ladies and gentlemen.
It's taken some time.
Prodigal son returns.
Yeah, I think maybe having that conversation last week and then, now having spent some time on it. I've got a session this weekend. I might fire up the 4x12 again and do some stuff. I've been a bit more just leaning on greenbacks and creambacks and stuff, but there is a thing with the V30s that does make me very, very happy. There's just a few amps, I think it's that Splawn thing, man. I keep coming back to that. That I have these eye-opening experiences. That was one where it's man, that amp sounds so bad with vintage 30s, so unusable, that there's probably other situations whereby speaker and amplifiers to using the wrong combination is wrong, and I need to work out what they are and really, study it a little bit. But what I did appreciate about John's video and talking to him as well, it's there's differences, but fucking who cares? That's really what I took away from it. It doesn't really matter that much. They all kind of still sound like a V30.
They're ballpark, yeah. Some were more preferable with that miking setup, and that rest of chain. It was interesting. I always find it interesting to isolate those things. But
I did have a I thought what he did, isolating the bands down so he could listen to the mid range by itself and the lows and the high end, and just to really I thought that was really, really clever. And yeah, it really doesn't seem like there's much different until you get to about that 5K range, and then it's sort of obviously it changed a little bit. But one of the earlier tests he had in the video, I don't remember which era it was testing, but there was a really massive cut at, I think it was 6K or 6.5K or something like that. Whereas some of the other speakers were kind of flat, and then the specific one, I remember there was a massive dip, which kind of looked like it's kind of weird because it looks like real comb filtering to me, or a real cut, it's a savage cut. It kind of looked in the low frequencies. Yeah, you would think of it as being comb filtering, and it could be quite easily attributed to dimensions of a space or something like that.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, in the high end, like when you start to get so many more cycles per second or hertz or whatever, the adding and cancellation of frequencies is just a lot less predictable because it's just so many thousand per second, you know? So I was trying to like really, I hadn't thought about it that much, but it was a thing of like, man, I wonder if there's just like one component in this that is contributing to the, I don't know, like the reflections or something, or
there's something that is probably testable about it, right?
I think so. It feels like it could be, but I don't think I'm smart enough to really be that person to come up with the thing. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna keep ruminating. Is that the right word? Or no, ruminating is the wrong word. I'm gonna keep
marinating.
Marinating. Actually, that's the other one I wanted to say, but I couldn't think of. One thing I did notice. So. And this wasn't really testable in his video the way he did it, but so I use the Synergy again all weekend because, you know, I'm a big man with the Synergy. The Fry-It, it's just
big sit on canvas.
Yeah, it's so comfortable to play, and also again using the XLR output for in-ears sounds awesome. Super happy with that. Very, very happy with that. And Scott, shout out Scott if you're listening to this one as well, he was running the Cornford. Into an orange 1x12 with a V30 in it, and that tone was also really awesome. I love the way he dials in an amp for his sound. It's like it's really, really hip.
Still playing Music Man's?
Yeah. What was he? Yeah.
They have a very particular mid-range response, which is quite nice.
I hope no one saw that, but I just like literally coughed up a whole bunch of phlegm and spat it into a tissue. So
that's where the tone's at, mate.
I thought I got it off camera, but I don't think I did. But anyway, one thing that I noticed is like as we were sound checking, I was, you know, off stage. He had jacked the amp up quite high. He actually used a different cabinet just to get a little bit of height. But that like top end, like really like ice pick sound, like through. Like bad, you know, it was very, very noticeable, like right in front of the stage. It actually helped where he was standing because he kind of blocked some of the like extreme ice pick frequency. But I'm not sure with overall with the V30s if that's like a characteristic of that speaker or all speakers, where maybe if you tested them at a like right in the center of the cone at a distance of like a meter or two, if they would give any different results. That would be not something John should do, because I mean that's another incredible like mammoth thing, and it doesn't really speak to the tone so much, but it more speaks to like maybe that's a reason why people like or dislike those speakers, if it is like so just drilling into your ears like that.
And it just the beaminess of guitar cabs was something that used to really, really get to me sometimes, you know, especially just playing in a room with a cab. You got to like get in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Then if you take a step one way or the other, it can sound way worse or way spiky or dark. I think I used to just gig with my cab turned around towards the back of the room and on the side because I'm a weirdo. I saw Steve Morse use his cabs on his side and I was like, oh, well, Steve Morse is good at guitar. I like him. I'll do that. So I think that was like an excuse so that I could turn up more as well. But yeah, that was a bit of a thing. I just got sick of hearing the cab on stage. So, you know, no wonder why Model alive now.
Well, yeah, I think it does help to take a little bit of that edge off, man. Like it's hard. Like I struggle with it. This is that 3K thing that I always talk about.
Yeah, man.
Like if the guitar sound goes clang, 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 instead of giving me, you know, a chunk or a pure tone or chord, I just find it really distracting, and it throws me off a lot. So I don't know if that's a tinnitus thing. Maybe I'm just too sensitive in that range. But anyway, that was interesting. Did you ever try that Butch Walker thing, like taping over the front of the speaker?
I did. Kind of cool. I don't know if I'd use it to mic a cab, but it definitely like just takes a little bit of the spike out, especially on that deluxe reverb.
Yeah. So that was just for everybody else, because Butch Walker, by the way, is my absolute number one hero of all time. as a songwriter and as a producer and all this sort of stuff, but and great guitar player. But yeah, he just literally puts some gaffer tape on the front of his guitar cabs, like right on the center of the speaker, and that's to stop this like ice pick sort of sound. And I tried it on Leon's Deluxe Reverb when I had it at the studio, and it sort of helped. Like it wasn't a night and day difference. Like I kind of figured it would be a really noticeable big sort of thing, but it was like, yeah, it sort of just tamed it a tiny bit.
Sometimes that's all you need. You know, like rattle on a snare drum or, you know, that kind of thing. It's just, you can do it with gaffer tape. It's cheap.
There was a thing like years and years ago. I remember people talking about, it might have been in like modding their, let's say Hot Rod Deluxe or something like that. But there was like a product that you could mount like on the inside of the grill cloth. And then that kind of did the same thing where it just like either blocked that frequency rate or that sound coming from the speaker.
Like a Scholl's insert for your amp.
Yeah. But yeah, who knows? But anyway.
It's time for a non-awkward segue, isn't it?
Go on, mate.
I thought today it might be cool to talk about guitars from major manufacturers that are not their flagship instruments. I'm totally stealing this from a topic that I saw on the Gear Forum. It was a pretty interesting chat. So the idea being, you know, if I say Gibson, what do you think of?
Les Paul.
If I say Fender, what do you think of?
Well, Strat for me personally, but yeah.
Strat, Telly, you know. Ibanez.
Actually, Gem probably.
Yeah. Gem, RG,
but yeah.
Jackson.
Ooh. Probably soloist. But maybe Kelly, actually, but maybe...
Yeah, that could go either way. And PRS?
Custom 24.
Custom 24, yeah.
I think it has to be Custom 24.
I guess the vibe is... And I just thought this was interesting because it kind of got me thinking about major manufacturers and what we consider the standards for electric guitars. So... maybe if we pick 4 or 5 guitar companies and we just kind of go through and think about, you know, what's your favorite instrument, say from Gibson that's not a Les Paul and Fender that's not a Strat, and talk about, you know, why they're cool and why they're interesting. And a lot of the time, you know, you can kind of get some good value for money, especially if you're buying these guitars, or get a lot of kind of use out of them. So, mate, we'll start with the big G. We'll obviously exclude the Les Paul from the conversation, but to you, what is the best Gibson that's not a Les Paul?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. It's a 335.
I would be very, very hard pressed to argue with you there.
But do you know what? I'd almost say it's so much like in that conversation that it's not worth talking about. Because to me, Gibson, like the same way with Fender, you can't say Fender has just the Strat. It's the Strat and the Telly. Like they're so... like two sides of the same coin sort of thing, or whatever, the same side of the same coin. I'm sick, everybody, so just excuse me.
He's fighting the war against his own body.
That's right. So, but the 335, of which I think I'll go pick mine up today, which I'm really excited about. Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
The tones that you can get out of it, the versatility of that instrument, it's probably, I wouldn't say it's maybe. No, it's probably more versatile than a Les Paul, to be fair, a 335. So I reckon we maybe don't talk about that. I think there's a few other guitars to consider in that.
I think the people's choice for this one would be the SG, right?
I think so, yeah. But
that's the one you see the most like common, not a Les Paul Gibson. Or for a lot of people, it's like their first Gibson. You know, SGs are considerably cheaper than Les Pauls a lot of the time.
Why is that? Is that just because there's no like maple top on it? And I guess it's not as fancy as it. I suppose that would be why.
I wonder, because I would say it's actually probably pretty arbitrary. But there's all that. There's all that. Yeah, you're not an SG guy, did you say? I appreciate them with the right player, but they look weird on me.
Yeah, I don't like them. I'd like to own one just because, you know, like not to derail too much, but when you talk about these guitars and these manufacturers and their flagship ones, I think it's sort of, as we've discussed, you sort of need to have that core collection of guitars, and it's like not one guitar will give you all of those sounds and of that variety. So yeah, it would be nice to add an SG into that family. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like I find maybe because of how the neck joins the body, it's just everything just feels a bit weird to me when I play it, and it feels like it juts out that way a lot.
Yeah. Do you like Firebirds?
Man, I love the way they look, but it's the same thing with the SG. Like in the way that joins, it feels like it's very long, and that always strikes me.
Firebirds, literally, to me, they feel like they sit out here.
Yeah,
they look awesome, and they play great. I really like the way they sound. They're probably the coolest looking Gibson.
Yeah.
But I think, for me, if the 335 is discounted, it has to be the Explorer.
I was going to say Explorer, like absolutely.
It's the sickest design.
It's the best looking guitar. It's like you can't use it in so many scenarios because it's so like I don't know what the word is. It just has that look about it. It's the lightning bolt. Like it's not appropriate to play like a jazz gig on. Yeah, aggressive. There you go.
It's an aggressive looking guitar, an aggressive sounding guitar. I love the name. I've always loved the name Explorer for a guitar. I don't know. I must have heard that a lot as a kid, where it was just like, that sounds cool. I want that. And I mean, I don't have a Gibson Explorer, but I've got that Hamer like 58 replica, which is amazing. Such a fun guitar to play. And I think for people like you and me, if you're over 6 foot, an Explorer is scaled appropriately. You don't. It doesn't look like a ukulele when you play it. It's got this big body and.
Well, I told you, man. That's why I wanted a 335. Like for me, a 335, it actually looks appropriate because I'm tall and not thin. So when I play, like I've got my Ibanez Les Paul copy from the 70s. Like it was one of the first guitars, like nice guitars I ever owned. It's not that nice, but it's still really fun. But it feels so. It's like quite thin. It's thinner than a normal Les Paul, and it's probably a little bit narrower, and it feels tiny on me. Yeah, it does feel like a ukulele. Yeah. Whereas like last year, the first time I played a 335 standing up at a gig, I was like, "Fuck, man, this feels right." Like I've been missing this my entire life.
Yeah, I've done I think one duo gig with that old 335 that was my dad's, the like weird plum color thing that we've recorded with a lot. And I love that guitar. Really, really good. Yeah, man, it's an awesome guitar. I played a 59 335, or was it a 345? It was at 10 amps, and that was amazing.
Yeah,
like that and the 59 Junior they had. But particularly the 335 was just like amazing. But yeah, I would go with the Explorer. I know some people go with the Flying V. The Flying V is cool. But yeah, there's something about the Explorer has an energy. When you look at someone walk on the stage with an Explorer, you know you're going to hear some riffs.
Yeah. Just to talk about the SG and the Explorer and like the tones for a second. Like, okay, an SG, when I've played them and when I think about what they sound like and what they do, correct me if I'm wrong, because I may be, but it's like they don't have the same sort of crack and attack on them. Like they're kind of a smoother tone almost. It's like when I play a Les Paul or an Explorer or something, it's almost like I can get a bit more shunk on it.
That's what I think of with either of the guitars. I think of the like, it goes ka-chung rather than like clang.
Yeah. Well, is that why? I mean, am I just kind of thinking of it because of like Black Sabbath reasons? Maybe like if you want to run something fuzzier and like
maybe
that the SG sort of feels a bit more.
I just think SG Angus Young.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, like,
but then again, like a big part of the AC/DC sound is the fact that Malcolm was playing a Gretsch a lot of the time, which are very, very, very twangy sounding guitars. So it's that kind of blend. Yeah, I feel like with SGs, maybe I've just never played a really, really good one, but I've played quite a lot of them, and they're always pretty decent.
Your one's cool, man. Like your 3 pickup one's cool.
Yeah, that thing's like in pieces at the moment, so need to get it back up to scratch. Again, it's cool, but it's like, it's got a very definitive kind of vibe when you play it. Where I want to play AC/DC and Sabbath, kind of as you said. With Fender, I was just kind of thinking about this. Like, I have a Warmoth telly, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 Strats here. So I feel pretty non-qualified to talk about this. But what like. The Jazzmaster, I think, again, is the people's choice here. They have become such a cool guitar over the last, say, couple of decades, where, like, that's become a style of guitar a lot of boutique manufacturers kind of vibe off, if you want to speak about that. And you know, it's the alternative guitar, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I never really liked them that much because the sort of music I like is a bit more pointy, and you know, they're not a pointy man's guitar. I've come around on it a little bit recently. I think they're a lot more tonally variable than like your standard Strats and Tellys. I mean, definitely the Jazzmaster with all the switches and stuff on it, you can sort of do anything with it, which is cool. Again, it's not really my sort of cup of tea, like a lot of music that gets made with it, but I kind of always associated them with having a way thinner sound than they actually do until like the last couple of years when, yeah, they're just very variable. Like you really can do anything with them. So but as you say, it's kind of become the people's choice. It's the guitar, like my TAFE students, they would be more interested in owning a Jazzmaster than a Strat or a Tele, to be honest.
I think to me, if you see someone playing a Jazzmaster, it's a guitar that signals quite a lot about what you like aesthetically if you choose to play one of those.
Yep.
You know, it's like you're sending a signal. You play a Strat, I don't know what I'm going to get. I see someone rock up with a Strat. Is it going to be, you know, hey, look at me, I want to be Hendrix or John Mayer or SRV, or is it I'm just going to sound like a guitar? I think when someone plays a Tele, you know, maybe there's a little bit more of that, like, okay, what are you wearing, cowboy boots? I know what you're going to do, but again, they're just, you know, they're like foundational instruments to electric rock guitar music. But yeah, I think the Jazzmasters, you know, it's become a cool guitar. You got to be hip to play one of those. Too cool for me.
Let me ask you something. Do you like the way they look?
I've come around to it. I've come around to it in a big way. I think, what's the band? Rival Sons, Scott Holiday. Mm-hmm. I think he plays Firebirds, but I feel like he's also got some Jazzmasters, and he looks rad playing them. I actually, again, because we're a podcast that strives for accuracy. Is it Scott Holiday? Guitarist. I'm going to look up Jazzmaster. You know what I'm not super into, which I would have been into 15 years ago, like the metal Jazzmasters, where it's got a Les Paul style bridge and like humbuckers. Yeah, Scott Holiday, Jazzmaster. Yep, cool. I think it's really great band if no one's checked them out, by the way. And he's like, I love the fuzz tones he has. I did a gig with somebody last month, the month before, and one of the other bands playing, like, one of the guitar players like had that sound, and I was like, dude, you sound like Scott Holiday from Rival Sons. And he was like, oh my God, thank you. Like, that's what I go for. I was like, by the way, what are you using? He was like, man, Tone Bender. That's where it's at. That's that, like, you know, really gnarly sounding fuzz thing. So I got to try some Tone Benders out because I like that sound. The other one which comes to mind, this is a real dark horse, Troy, but I think my favorite Fender design that's not a Strat or a Tele, we're going to exclude the P bass and the Jazz bass, but it's the Bass 6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I have a Harley Benton Bass 6 knockoff that I really, really like, but I think Squire did like
Yeah, they did one.
They did one, and a couple of years ago when I was in Melbourne, I went to Lockie from Polyeffects had one, and it was amazing. Like, Ryan was playing it and just loving it. So yeah, because you can kind of use those as a baritone guitar, or you can use it as a 6-string bass, but it's also kind of neither. It's yeah, and it's a cool design. It's got a bit of that offset thing without being like explicitly Jazzmaster or Jag or all those other designs that the other ones, I mean, they had a bunch of designs in like the 90s as well, like the Prodigy, like the kind of the more like metal looking ones.
Okay.
So it means like trying to be Ibanez, basically.
Right.
But yeah, I think the basics. There's a band called Loathe, which I'm sure some people who enjoy the channel and enjoy the podcast will be familiar with because people from the comment section got me onto them. But yeah, they kind of play, you know, bass 6s or baritones, and it's pretty cool. It's sort of like that, you know, that weird intersection you get between like people who sort of like metal but also sort of like shoegaze.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like, it's that like in between. There's aesthetics from both, and it doesn't really sound like either. To me, it's a very British sound. It's like alternative metal.
You like Porcupine Tree?
Not yes, but no, not in a kind of like we take ourselves really seriously. Like they're cool and kids like them sort of thing. So it's a bit of a different thing. If it came out 20 years ago, it would have been the uncoolest thing ever. Only nerds would like it. Sort of like, Sleep Token. There's a few of them, but they have this like, there's atmospheric stuff and there's like genty elements of it. But people are digging it, and it's pretty interesting. So yeah. Anyway, the Low thing, yeah, because I hadn't heard of them and checked it out, and it's interesting. Like cool textural stuff. Mate, do yourself a favor. So anyway, that's Fender. We should move on to let's do PRS because I'm very pro PRS on here.
Well, how's the DGT? You still loving it?
Still loving it, mate. It's great. Absolutely. I look forward to playing it every day. I got to bring it around so you can also enjoy it.
Has it knocked off the single cut, or are they 1 and 2 at the moment?
I probably play it at home more than the single cut, but I was kind of doing that with other guitars anyway. Because, like, the single cut just has the sound for the ragdoll.
Yep.
And that's basically all it's set up to do. And I really couldn't care if it does anything else. It does some other cool stuff, but I just kind of keep it in drop C for that thing. But yeah, it's way more of like a kind of vintage style beast. And I think a lot of people know that. They're like, most people would think of PRS and think of the Custom 24, but the DGT is probably the one most people should try first.
I wish I'd known more about that guitar. Like I didn't know it was a thing at all until I played the one you borrowed, like whatever, like 2 years ago. And I fell in love with it, man. I was like, man, this is the guitar for me if I was to own a PRS.
Yeah.
I've had very mixed experiences with Custom 24s.
I think that like the 90s ones I'm not as into. Like the PRS stuff, I don't know, has become more universally appealing over, say, the last 10, 15 years. They've, I think, kind of narrowed in more on what guitar players are wanting. But Troy, my vote for the underrated alternative PRS is the Mirror.
I kind of figured you were going to say that.
Yeah, because it's got the, as much as I said I'm not into the SG thing, it's a bit of a lot of people compare it to the SG, like sort of smaller body, but it's like the one I've got, the pickup side by side with my single cut, like it's kind of 95% there. I think apparently the pickups are literally the 245 pickups and the Mirror pickups are the same, just one has covers and the other doesn't.
Right.
But yeah, you remember when I bought that guitar, you were there at Norm's and played a bunch of gigs on it. And the only thing, it fell off a chair and the neck popped out and had to be reset. So it's kind of lost a little bit of the magic. But when I play it, I'm still like, this is a great meat and potatoes. It's a really good gigging guitar. It's really light, got a coil tap. You can get some cool sounds out of it.
Yeah, no, that's a cool guitar. I like that one. It's actually not my choice for the PRS, the Unsung PRS.
I think I know what's coming.
I don't know if you do.
All right, well, hit me.
CE24.
Oh,
or 22.
I thought you were going to say the hollow body.
No, I know why you would think that for Incubus reasons, but
exactly.
No, I think the CE range is very underrated.
I've actually not spent much time playing many CEs.
The Custom 24s that I've played have been cool, but they're almost like a little bit too nice. It's a really silly criticism to have of Paul Reed Smith guitars. But when a guitar is like so beautiful that you don't actually want to take it out of the case, I think that can be a little bit of a problem. And I think also guitars that are made to just sit on a wall is also pointless. Not to say that's what all of those guitars are, because they're very...
a lot of them do end up in that situation.
Yeah, which is a shame. Like, I mean, I can appreciate a guitar being a piece of art, but I think a guitar's primary function should be to make music.
Yes.
And that's where the art should come from, not just by it hanging on the wall, being in that part of it. So the CEs that I played have felt a little bit more comfortable to me. Firstly, okay, they don't look like shit compared to a Custom 24, but usually they're a tiny bit less gaudy, I suppose, or a little less fancy.
The new ones have like some satin on them as well, which is kind of...
They're a lot more player guitar to me.
Yeah.
They feel really comfortable in my hands. They're also, I think they're bolt necks, right? That's what...
bolt on, a lot of the time maple necks.
Yeah, and that lends itself a bit more to a Strat sort of thing, which is sort of what I like. I like Strat style guitars and Tele style guitars. It's probably like having a bit more snap and attack when I play is the thing that I look for, and I think I get that from those guitars. So there's been maybe 4 or 5 of them that I've played, like various ones that I've played that I've really, really liked. Whereas I'd say the sample, like the equivalent sample of customs that I've played, I've liked less. So there's some great instruments that they do, and like excluding signature models like DGTs probably in that sort of.
Yeah, I think everyone knows that the DGTs are great because everyone raves about them. I'm trying to think of. I know Drew from Carnival has a CE, but I can't remember if it's a 22 or a 24, and it's like have you seen my blue PRS recently?
Oh, not for a little while, but
it's pretty beaten up now. Like I'll pull it up. It's been the chuck it in the case of the Fly Gigs guitar for a while. It's got a broken string at the moment, but I don't know if people can make out all the kind of dings on the top and all the scratches. Probably not on the camera, but it's got some knocks, like big ding. Like all of this is kind of like marked. It's beaten up. The bridge is really corroded. I thought that was, a record for, having a PRS that's all busted up. But Drew's PRS is like wrecked. Like I think it's just been played and played and played. Let's see. I can't remember if it's a 20. I'm trying to look at a video at the moment so that I can get it. It's definitely a CE. I think it's a CE 24. Yeah, it's just this like, probably an early 90s one, and I think it's just been the guitar for a long time. So yeah, a lot of people's favorite metal songs have probably come out of that guitar.
Yeah, well said.
Now I want to see 24, Troy.
Yeah, well, hey mate, there's always time. You got the rest of your life.
Got the rest of your life to live.
Do you know what's funny is I've been really on my list has been PRS like recently, because I've got the SE and that's cool, but I want a USA one. I think I just want to be that guy that rocks around with one.
Join the club, mate.
Well, yeah, and because of the versatility of a PRS, not just in of a USA one, but I mean like when you get a decent guitar that can cover you for really good clean tones, really good dirty tones, and sort of stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I should definitely chuck that on there. But that sort of changed because I've been I did all weekend with my Chevelle again, and that feels so good to me. It's and my Isbell Telecaster feels so good to me. I don't really feel like the PRS is going to add too much to my life. It's like, I think we spoke the other day about like when you buy gear and you think it's like, this is the last thing I need. Like, it's just like, once I get this, I'm going to be done. I feel like I've had a PRS in my head, like the concept of a PRS as being the last guitar, the last gigging guitar. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think for rock gigs, I use the Chevelle, and for the acoustic or the duo gigs, I use the Isbell Telecaster, and then I'm done.
And then you get a PRS anyway. Yeah,
probably when I get some bucks, man. Like, I'll get my 335 back, and I'll be pretty stoked to have that.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Like, I look forward to hearing you on that guitar. Should we maybe pivot to another major manufacturer we're fans of, Ibanez?
Yeah, go on.
Because before we started, I mean, I think we both think of the one guitar that is associated with the one guitarist who's most associated with Ibanez, right? When it comes to Ibanez guitars now, anyway, post Passion and Warfare, it's the Gem, right? Or the RG design. Still my favorite Ibanez design. It's just like they're one of the best looking Super Strats, if not the best. They just they have this like, they're a definitive pointy guitar, aren't they? Yeah,
they I think. Well, okay, I really like my Chevelle. I've said that so many times already, and now that I play my RGs, I don't find them as comfortable. But when all I want to do is play as fast as possible, I think the RGs do that better than any guitar. They're so wide, so flat. They're like thin. They're really just easy to rip, but they don't really work for chords. In the same sort of, like, it's not a guitar that you can just like grab like a baseball bat and just go chugga chugga chugga.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the downfall for me, right? Whereas I like
a performance instrument.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with saying that, I'm looking at my 550 right now. It's just such a wicked looking design. Like it's really thin around the body is quite thin. The horns are quite thin. So it's sharp. It's defined. It's like just such a cool looking instrument. So
it looks like something from a cartoon. Like it's, it's like a superhero guitar or something like that. Like it's very
I
feels
agree with that.
Our childhood, I think, like X-Men comics or something.
But yeah, particularly with the hum single hum, I think it sort of does that a lot. So yeah, look, I love those guitars. But what's your favorite non RG guitar?
Well, I know if Cam was on this podcast, he would choose the Iceman. But it's the Destroyer is the coolest Ibanez. The only thing cooler than a Destroyer is the Paul Gilbert Ice Destroyer. That is still a guitar I would love to just, build a copy of one day or have built or something. Again, it kind of ties into that Explorer thing. You could argue that maybe it's a bit too close to an Explorer, which is my choice for an Unsung Gibson, in which case I'll put forward another candidate later. But yeah, friend of the podcast, Mark DeVadimo, has that old Destroyer, and that is just one of the coolest guitars ever. Like, I love that's his guitar. That thing is like he's just played the crap out of it. And I just like the little details that they put on it to kind of change it up, and they're cool. You know?
No, I agree. Like I think they look so cool. The little the lower part of the body where it kind of does a little dip instead of the flat on the thing, and that plus the headstock, like your standard RG style headstock or whatever. I think it just looks so slick. I've had a couple of opportunities to buy one. Like, I'm really disappointed. Like recently, in the last 12 months, maybe 2 years.
I remember there was one where you were like, I should have done this.
Yeah, there's a few like, they've come up on Facebook or whatever for like, let's just say $800, and I had the money to do it, but I was like 3 minutes too late to the post because it's just I mostly buy guitars now that I'm going to use for gigs, but there's a few things because I've got about 5 or 6 Ibanez guitars that my first Ibanez I bought 20 years ago when I was in high school, and so partly there's a part of me that's like, all right, you sort of collect Ibanez guitars, right? You collect cool ones, and I'd love to have the Destroyer, in that collection, specifically an 80s one, Yep. And as I said, they've come up, and I've just sort of, missed the boat on it a little bit, but hey, that's okay. One day.
I think if you're going to put forward another one, and this is one that I haven't played one for years and years, but I remember them being advertised heavily during the peak metalcore era, like, mid 2000s. But remember the AZ or AZ series? Is that what I'm thinking of? Or I think of the S, not the super thin ones. They were like the chunky, maybe the SZ.
The SZ. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, like they were kind of like fixed bridge.
Yeah, like the Strat looking ones, right?
Yeah, kind of Stratty.
Yeah.
And but thick bodies.
Yeah, they had the SZ, the SA. There was a few. The AX was the more like SG-ish looking, or double cut.
They were sort of like PRS-y-ish, but I just kind of like I don't love the body shape, but I like the specs.
Yep.
Where it's just like twin humbuckers, it's just basically
string through, hey?
String through, yeah.
It's so funny, man. That's like
there it is. That's the ad. I don't know if people can see this.
Is it blue? I can't. Oh, yeah.
That one with it's kind of like a faded blue jean thing. I just remember that ad and being like, that's cool. And yeah, people really rate them.
Yeah. They've got some pretty cool guitars, man. Like I
like the AZ. Is that what everyone's like the
like more Surrey looking things?
Surrey looking ones, yeah. I reckon they look sweet.
Yeah.
I've played a few which were pretty nice. And I see they do a 7-string like that as well. So yeah, that's kind of they're responsible looking guitars.
Yeah. I think it's a shame with Ibanez, like they're a bit too in the vein of your 80s metal type of thing. Not 80s metal, like your metal type of thing in general. I shouldn't just say 80s metal, but it's you just don't see your blues guys gravitating towards an Ibanez guitar, or I don't know, your indie rock guys, which is okay. You know, so I guess it's all right to just live in a genre of music.
I mean, the hardcore Ibanez, they do some great guitars as well.
Yeah, they do. Well, I've got one of those too. It's a cool guitar.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, outside of like the Destroyer, Iceman, and RG, I know there's the Sabres and the S series. I'm not super into those. They're cool.
They're really thin.
Really, really thin.
Yeah, I'd like a bit more weight on a guitar.
Yeah, which I think why those SZs are they were a cool, more modern thing. So you mentioned Charvel, so we should say like Charvel, Jackson. I guess Charvel, like, they're the super Strat. There's nothing too crazy. It's more what is the Jackson would be a hard one to pin down.
Yeah, I mean,
it kind of is a soloist though, right? That's the template upon which all others are based.
If it's not, it must be the Kelly.
Because the Kelly's my favorite Jackson, like by a country mile. I reckon they look amazing.
Me too. Okay, so I remember in 2004 when Steve Vai came to do a gig, of which I wasn't able to go to because it was an 18+ gig. So worst moment of my life. But he did a signing at Cosmic Sound. So like the Cosmic Sound.
Is that when they like
Cosmic
opened
Music.
up the new? It was like the grand unveiling of the new Cosmic store.
Yeah, it was. Is it Cosmic Sound or Cosmic Music though? It's bothering me.
Like Cosmic Sound and Lighting.
Sound and Lighting. Okay, yeah, I'm not crazy. Anyway, so Cosmic did that opening or whatever, but Steve Vai was there to do a signing, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, this is gonna be awesome! I can go to this," and the whole band was there, and Tony McAlpine was there, so that was like as years went on, I was more excited about that, and Billy Sheehan and stuff. Anyway, I got there super early, like 4 or 5 hours before the meet, because I wanted to get in line. And I just was jamming with a couple of random people, like in the little, where they had all the guitars.
That's
and
cute.
I was playing a Kelly, like the whole time, being like, man, this is awesome. Like this guitar is fucking awesome. So that same year, I actually found a Dinky that I loved. Like loved. But, and the color on it was just like stupid. I think, I feel like I know someone that had the same guitar. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, just like a explosion of purple and blue and yellows and stuff. But yeah, just that style of Super Strat I think was really cool, because it's a different neck to your Ibanez. Like it's a tiny bit thicker, a little bit narrower, but it's quite comfortable.
A little more traditional, but it's pretty comfy. Did you see did I send you that Brandon Ellis like guitar collection thing?
Oh, I don't remember.
If I haven't, I need to, because it's actually the greatest collection of 80s style guitars.
Doesn't
ever.
he play for the Gold Coast Suns?
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, ex-Richmond to Suns. No, the guitar player from the Black Dahlia murder.
Right.
Like so many crackle finish guitars, but then he's got like all his signature models and custom shop stuff with the crackle stuff, and it's awesome. But then he sort of goes through, and this is my other wall of like cool guitars, and man, so first thing, he's got a blue Saraceno Yamaha.
Yeah, right, okay.
He's got a few Hamers, and he's got a Gibson Moderne, like the Super Strat thing that they did.
Oh, right, yeah.
I was watching and I was like, I'm actually out of my league here. Like this guy actually has done the proper deep dive on all these like 80s shredder guitars and collected them all. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if he had a Thai Table Yamaha, but if he did, that would just be the absolute.
You know what? I've seen those come up. Like they're not that crazy rare. I just haven't really felt like buying one. It's like, I don't know, like when I think of Ty Tabor and his best guitar sounds, like it certainly wasn't. It wasn't made with a. I had an opportunity to buy an Elite too. Well, when I say opportunity, I found one. Yeah, and I wasn't that impressed, to be honest.
Yeah, I think like a lot of Ty stuff, like it's cool when Ty does it, but it's not going to work for anyone else.
I'd love a Lab series. Do you remember? I was so bummed about this, but it was like right before we went to America in 2012. Like that. The week before, someone listed a Lab Series amp on Gumtree. Whoa. And they wanted like $1,000 for it or something. And I was like, oh my God. I have to buy this thing.
On a holiday, I'd do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. And I just kind of had to let it go. And it was on Gumtree. There's one somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's not in my possession at least. So, but yeah, because it was on Gumtree, whatever it was, like it disappeared. The ad disappeared, but there's like no trace of messages as well.
Yeah,
which is a real shame because sometimes you can like go back and find this stuff somehow, but yeah, that one is just gone.
Oh man, what about? So I mean, and this is like a very bias towards the stuff that we like. There's obviously a lot of other manufacturers out there doing awesome stuff, but I think they're kind of like the big fish for us when they're like, you could say go through Hamer. Well, like what's the Hamer? It's the standard. Again, an explorer shaped guitar, but all of the a lot of people would say like the Californian or I've got a standard, I've got a Californian. If you're going to have Hamers, they're the ones to have. Yep. The Artist is cool, sort of like mini 335 thing, but they're definitely my two favorite Hamers. I guess you could say, like, do you still own that weird Gretsch that you had for a while?
No, I got rid of the Gretsch. Friend of the show, Chris, has that now.
There you go.
But
so, I mean,
it wasn't a weird Gretsch. It was the what's it called? It's a Duo Sonic? No.
Duojet.
Is that that's what it kind of looks like a single cut thing.
Yeah, it's because obviously like the Gretsch is the White Falcon.
Yeah.
My dad made a White Falcon.
That's right. Yeah.
Replica, which is amazing. It's a guitar he always wanted and he just built one. As he tends to do with those things. But yeah, I think like they're small. I kind of like the look of their smaller guitars. They're one of the few like single cut style shapes that doesn't look, because everything gets compared to a Les Paul when you're that size.
Yep.
It doesn't look just sort of off. Well, and they definitely have a sound, like Malcolm Young.
Yeah.
The End. Billy Duffy from the Cult as well. There's some like classic rock tones happening there.
Yeah, well, that guitar, like I just wasn't using it, and I didn't have the willpower to set it up and rewire it and all of the required. Sorry, I feel like I'm on the edge of a sneeze. All of the required work to bring it up to usability, which is why I got rid of it. But it was really cool. I was lucky enough to have a Duesenberg here for a long time, which maybe we'll get back at one point. And that's kind of a similar sort of guitar. It's a hollow body versus solid body, but I think that's like if you don't want to buy a Gretsch, then you just buy the Ducey. And I'd probably take the Ducey.
To me, it's like the PRS of Gretsch style things. Like it's just they've made everything a little smoother and cleaner and nicer. And
yeah, absolutely. But they're really cool guitars, man. Like they're not cheap, but they're not crazy expensive. I quite liked the one that was here for a bit. I used that on a lot of sessions too. Speaking of plasticky, and just to go back a little bit, you know what guitar I really fucking can't stand is those Silver Skies, like the PRS.
Oh, really?
Have you played them?
I played one, and it felt like a Strat. Like that's all I remember.
To me, it felt like a plastic Strat.
Strat, Silver Sky. There you go.
I really didn't like. And I played two of them. I thought they felt like worse Strats. I think I might be in the minority with that, but I don't know. Like
people who froth them, but also, can you trust anyone who like bases their life around loving John Mayer?
No, like fuck John Mayer. Like fuck John Mayer and his boring ass music. Like great guitar player, but who cares? Like your songs are terrible. That's not true. Like there's some great John Mayer stuff and great John Mayer playing, but like man, I'm never.
I feel like the stuff that I like from him, people go, "Why do you like that?" And then the people show me stuff and be like, "Man, isn't this great?" I'm like, "Yeah," but also go and listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan or go and listen to 80s Clapton, like,
yeah,
because they done it better, bro. And again, like he's like objectively fantastic and amazing and really, really good at guitar. The blues trio stuff that he did with Pino Palladino is really, really good. Like, not many people can play like that, man. But I feel like the worship is way, way overdone. And I don't care if people hate me for that, but yeah.
Oh, you can hate me as much as you like. I don't give a fuck about John Mayer. Yeah, it's vanilla. It's like the most vanilla of vanilla music, And
vanilla's great. I like vanilla ice cream sometimes, but I'll probably always pick like, peanut butter brownie with chocolate or something like that because I'm going to indulge with those kind of things. So
John Mayer is the Ed Sheeran of electric blues.
Oh man, I don't know if that's more of a knock on Ed or on John. Why not both?
Yeah, I just can't stand it. And I said I didn't like those guitars. I don't understand the worship from them. I think like what from a design thing, wasn't it supposed to be like a more perfected Strat too?
I think like an L series Strat. The one that I played, I remember the neck had a real sort of feel to it. I was like, oh yeah, that's got that weird old Strat. I think the radius is really low as well on them, which is probably the opposite of what we like. You know, if you like the kind of flatter Gibson-y style thing, or even the like more modern style guitar, it's definitely not that.
Yeah, I just don't like them. Paul, you're done fucked up.
It's not for you.
No.
Do you remember that Mark Tremonti custom PRS he had that looked like it's one of the ugliest things I've ever seen in my life. It's sort of like an Explorer, but
no,
man, like as much as I love Paul Reed Smith, they have put out a few really, really ugly custom prototypes. Like there's that thing circulating around like an Eric Johnson prototype, and it looks like they've taken a left-handed Strat body, but it's just like the lower horn is bigger. I don't know if it's real, but it is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. And like, it's even one of those things, no matter like how ironic you want it to be, I don't think anyone would be like, yeah, I'll play that Eric Johnson prototype. It's
the only guitar that looks cool like that is the Ibanez 540R, I think it is.
Yeah. Oh, what did Jackson do as well? Like the Demon or something? Again, it's a reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
the 540 Ibanez has, I think it's the S, the 540S and the 540R or the 540 something else. The S is the one that became the Satriani signature model.
Gotcha.
And then the other one is the one that what's the guy from Testament? Alex Skolnick.
Skolnick.
Yeah, he was. I'm not sure if it became a signature model or at least he like was playing them for a while. Man, fuck, Ibanez had some cool shit. Oh, you know what guitar I really should have said is the Reb Beach signature. What do they call it?
Voyager, yeah.
Voyager, yeah. That's like...
Okay, I'm with you right there. One of my students has one. Alessio, if you're listening to this, that Voyager is...
Is it the Koa one or is it the like...
It's the Koa one, man. It's the proper one.
I would love to own that guitar. One of those. That's like the... You know, so much of the... my formative years of guitar playing was just they all played Ibanez. And so now that I'm older, I just want all of them, and that is the very tippity top of the list. And
one last one. Oh, sorry, you keep going, mate.
I was going to say the other one was the Red Beach. I think it was called the Warbird. I'm not sure if you ever saw that, but like they did like I have a feeling Reb talks about it on that website that we always talk about.
Yeah, yes,
but it's like there was only like when I say a handful, like 2 or 3 of them ever made, and it got like just lost amongst the ages for a while, and some guy just found it and picked it up and, you know, played it, and then I think it made its way back to Reb. I think that's what happened. I may be conflating that with a different story, but it's a real, like, if you look up a picture of it, it's a strange looking guitar, but I think they used it on, you know, one of the music videos or something like that.
Gotcha. Man, that reminds me of, you know, I was like last year, I think I only had the moment where I realized, it's totally unrelated, that a Dean ML is just a Flying V and an Explorer in one body.
Yeah, and you told me that, and I was like, of course.
Like, duh. How could you not know that? That's actually, you know, that's a cool design. I really hated those guitars growing up. I thought they were the worst looking thing ever. And now I've kind of come around. Like the Star guitars, I wasn't into them, but yeah, kind of dig it now. I know that some people will complain if we don't talk about ESP. I don't own any ESPs, but they have some pretty sweet designs. The Horizon, like they have a kind of, you know, but more for like metal guitars. And I'm not super into those like metal guitars, but I've definitely been through a period where I've really liked some of the stuff they've done and really, really not liked some of the stuff. Like,
well, even the Strats and Tellys, man, like they make great, they're just really well made Japanese guitars.
Yeah, man. And like the Edwards and the E2s that they make are fantastic. I've played, I think it's the Eclipses with like the fat back. I've played a few of those that are awesome. Like, they're not a Les Paul. They're much more of like a kind of, you know, they sound a little leaner, but they've got a thing. And I think if you wanted a Les Paul that you were actually just going to gig all the time and you were playing in like a punk band or a metal band, it'd be perfect. They're, yeah, really, really impressive. Some of the Horizons I really like the look of. Like the older, all the older ones, like I think Michael Romeo played one for a while, M3s.
They're the Stratty looking things, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
They're cool.
I played one of the LTD ones a long time ago and actually loved it. Like really, really loved it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're one of those companies where they're like, oh yeah, this LTD is like a cheap piece of crap, but this LTD was made in the same factory as the ESP guitars, but they just branded it LTD for some weird reason because they were, it was like, there's a bunch of LTDs out there that they just say LTD, but they're like, almost custom shop spec guitars.
Well,
remember the Forest?
The which one?
The Forest, that really weird, janky looking. I just remember there was like a period where I think Joondalup Music had a bunch of LTD Forest guitars. This is very much you're gonna love it or you're gonna loathe it. The Viper.
Yeah, well, Phil X, big fan of the Viper.
Yeah, I mean, that guitar is kind of my nightmare. Apologies to anyone who loves the Viper. So the Forest. Let's see, where is it? Give me some images of the Forest. It's got some weird angles on it. If it's the one that I'm thinking of. Sorry. LTD guitars. I don't care about this. Tell me the Forest, because this is a visual medium we have right here. ESP Forest. Mate, it will all come back to you. That shape.
I'm waiting for it to... Oh, yeah. Yep. I remember that one. Kind of looks like the BC Rich thing. What's it called? Is it not the Bitch?
Yeah. Not the Mockingbird. Not the Warlock. That other one.
Maybe it is the Warlock. It's not the Warlock, is it?
The Warlock is sort of...
Maybe it's the Bitch. No, it isn't the Bitch. Oh, I can't remember. But
it doesn't have the lower horns of the Warlock.
Yeah. I'm not into that guitar, the one you just showed. It's too much for me. And like, I like weird guitars, but that's just like, I don't like weird guitars that look too metally. Like you really can only play black metal on them.
It's an Addams Family guitar. And as much as I enjoy the aesthetic of the Addams Family, that's just what I think of when I see those guitars. So, and I'm sure there's some people listening and watching who love these things. And in which case,
you're wrong.
Feel free to give us the finger, but also just understand that you're wrong.
Yep. But yeah, that's pretty funny, man. Like I said, I've forgotten about those. We could have talked about BC Rich as well. There's so many different brands.
There's some BC Rich designs, again, they're like really, really hit and miss. And I think that's just when you go for something that's not a Les Paul or a Strat. And like, so many companies fall in that. Guitar design is so inherently conservative, but the number of people who are like, I'm going to design a custom guitar with a different shape, and it's the Homer.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to underestimate, even to do something weird, how difficult that is to pull off.
I think you get away with it more in bass. There's a lot more weird bass shapes. And innovation in general, like, multi-scale is a lot more accepted in with your Dingwalls and whatnot. So
like the Music Man bongo is a weird looking thing, but when you see someone play a bongo bass, you're like, they're playing a bass. You don't think twice about it.
Yep. That was a cool bass, actually, the bongo. I like to play.
Yeah, I like the bongos. The Stingray is such a great design as well. Like, they're just such a cool bass.
Yeah,
they sound great. There's maybe we talk about, we should probably wrap up in a second, but like Music Man have a few like really cool looking guitars and a few. They actually, you know what? They have some weird stuff that is very not metal, probably a bit polarizing, like the Albert Lee. Scott's got one of those. Hey,
he played it on the weekend. Yeah, that was the other guitar that he had.
It's a weird looking guitar, but it's also kind of a thing.
The one Scott has is a rosewood neck, I think, and it sounds huge. Like, it's such a cool guitar. But yeah, I remember the first time seeing a picture of that. Actually, no, didn't he play it on that Spinal Tap thing? Or like, the second Spinal Tap movie? Yeah, and Albert Lee comes out. I'm pretty sure he's playing that guitar. I was like, what is this shit? Like, this is the weirdest thing ever. But no, it's cool, man. It's really cool. So,
do you like the St. Vincent guitar?
What does that one look like?
So let me get a St. Vincent Music Man.
I came around a lot on St. Vincent in the last maybe 3 years.
Yeah, I so didn't get it for the longest time. And then when you get it, you're like, oh, you're amazing. Let's take a look. Let's get a decent. So there's that, and there's the Mariposa, which I think is the guy from the Mars Volta Command Focus. Isn't this great? That one.
Oh yeah,
I kind of dig it.
That's and I think very different shape.
I think the whole thing was it was a guitar designed for women because you know, like they have different body shapes to men, and guitars are just made for men because I don't know, girls aren't allowed to play guitar. The Mariposa is cool as well. Like they do the slightly off, they do the offset thing, I think, in a kind of cool way as well. I haven't played one of the Mariposas. I find the Petrucci, like the Majesty guitar, I've played one, and they're awesome guitars, but they just look a little weird.
Yeah, I don't like them. Not into it at all.
The JP7s and stuff, you know, I bought a JP7 because it's like the most norm. That's the Mariposa.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Once again, it's kind of like bit pointy, bit weird, kind of interesting aesthetic on there. They do the what's the guy from Maroon 5, James Valentine? It sort of looks like a solid body 335.
Oh, okay.
My students had one. Great guitar. Like they make great stuff. Troy, we haven't even talked about it. This will be the last design that I mentioned. The Wolfgang. Where are you on that? Like, is it a Super Strat or is it a? What is it? Is it a Telly?
I've never thought about it. I like the design. I think they're cool guitars, but I haven't thought about it being. It's probably more of a Super Strat than it is a Les Paul or a Telly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's still a Super Strat, but it almost looks, because it's so slabby, right? But they do the carved top ones, and they're a thing, aren't they? Every time I play mine, I'm like, man, this is a great guitar. Like probably the best $500 I ever spent.
Yeah, I mean, I think like those guitars, the Wolfgangs, they're like 4 and 2 on the headstock as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Kind of like Music Bands. I'm not really into that, like the small looking headstocks. Just in the same way that I feel a 335 is comfortable for me because I'm big. It's one thing about those guitars, like it's a shorter scale. It just feels too tiny on me.
Yeah,
but that's just personal preference, you know. Like it doesn't change the goodness of the instrument. And yeah, yours sounded really cool. What pickups are in that? I can't remember.
Whatever it came with, but they sound like there's a wah on at all times with them. Like they're really, really hot and mid-range focused, which is kind of cool. I think we've ticked a lot of boxes today, Troy. We've offended some people, which every podcast needs to do.
Yeah, mate. That's what I'm here to do. Well, I meant to say before, thank you so much for watching if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it to us on the podcast app. I always read the comments, and the comments have been very positive on the YouTube ones. So if you want to leave us some negativity and some hate and some rage, then please feel free to do that. Otherwise, just keep showering praise upon us.
But remember that hate is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I love that quote. Who was that? Abe Lincoln? Jimmy Carter? History's greatest monster?
All right, let's leave it there, Uncle Leon. Good on you, mate. I'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Take it easy. We'll see you next week.
Peace.